Welcome back to this video series on saluting women in history. The world of media, especially the Indian film and television industry, has a viewership base unrestricted by barriers of caste, class, race, and economic backgrounds. This medium is widely accepted by all and, more importantly, accessible and affordable by everybody. For decades now, the central theme of this entertainment industry has revolved around the promotion of the patriarchy and has very conveniently supported stereotypes and the objectification of women. Scripts and stories are usually developed around a male protagonist and his heroism. This is perhaps because content like this does wonders at the box office. At the same time, the woman tends to be portrayed as a homemaker, the epitome of the weaker and vulnerable sex that seeks the protection of a man. Most soaps and movies are reflections of these realities of Indian households. The central themes of such soaps have focused on the stereotyping of Indian households and the promotion of gender roles. A slight change is evident where female-centric movies have begun to be produced. While not all are filmed against the social backdrop of the majority of the Indian households, they have been successful enough to put across the messages about the pertinent issues of the society, with empowering women in their traditional roles and thereby making the content relatable as well as acceptable by the masses. Glimpses of this have been evident in the industry since 1957 onwards, when the first woman-centric film, Mother India, was released. This film sent waves amongst the audience which travelled overseas too, so much so that the movie got nominated for Oscars, which lent it more credibility and even gained its widespread acceptance. Only after a few decades where more female-oriented films were released. Although the 21st century ushered a wave of female-centric films as compared to what was produced in the 90s, the numbers remain low. With this background, we shall look into how did the women first charter into these male-dominated waters to dip their toes in each and every medium that the entertainment industry has to offer and found popularity. Here are some great Indian women who challenged the bizarre conventions for their love of cinema. Fatima Begum, who is considered to be the first female director and producer, is the creative force that binds the film together. Movie geeks strongly believe that it is the director's vision that determines how well the script is transformed into a feeling on screen. This held true for Fatima Begum back in the 1900s. Having written the script about an epic fantasy, she refused to trust anyone with its outcome and directed it herself in 1926. With Bulbul-e Parishtan, the trained theatre artist became India's first ever female director in Indian cinema. She unlocked the doorway to the world of moving pictures for other female directors. She went on to direct many films like Goddess of Love in 1927, Chandravali in 1928, Heer Ranjha in 1928, and Shakuntala in 1929. She even started her own production company called the Fatima Films, breaking yet another stereotype. Durgabai Kamath, the first female actor. The father of Indian cinema, Dada Saheb Phalke, did everything to convince women to act in his film Raja Harishchandra. He published advertisements in several newspapers for the cast and crew and even approached the Noch girls, but he didn't succeed. Ultimately, he had to cast a man in the role of the female lead. In Phalke's second film, Mohini Bhasmashur, Durgabai Kamath braved the conservative society and became India's first female actor to act on the silver screen. Interestingly, her daughter Kamlabai Gokhale became the first female child actress by acting in the same movie. That was a great achievement. Do you know the first female comedian? She is none other than Uma Devi Khatri, who is popularly called as Tuntun in North Indian cinema. The reason why English comic actor Charlie Chaplin is celebrated worldwide is his ability to make people laugh without uttering a single dialogue. Uma Devi Khatri also banked on the comedy that does not adhere to the societal norms of how a woman should be. Fondly known as Tuntun, she became the first female comedian of Hindi cinema and later on a playback singer. She worked in more than 190 films alongside renowned comedians like Johnny Walker, Bhagwan Dada and Dhumal. While she did attain success as a comedian, unfortunately the roles that she played were mostly of an obese lady who is a nightmare for men. She was that lady who everyone despised and was considered to be the opposite of how an Indian lady should be. Khatri is a classic example of a talent that was underrated and to some extent even misused. The first female music director, Jaddan Bai. She was a daughter of Dalip, a courtesan, and she was trained in classical music under famous singers including Tumri Maestro, Maujuddin Khan. Genes and training both played a huge role in perfecting Jaddan's talent to compose music. After making her debut as an actor, she became India's first music director and composed music for Talashe-Haq in 1935 and Madam Fashion in 1936. Interestingly, she gave birth to a daughter who turned out to be one of the greatest gifts in Indian cinema has ever got, the legendary actress Nargis. Anne Mary Evans, popularly called as Nadia, she was the first stunt woman in Indian cinema. She was born in Australia and she came to Mumbai with her father in 1913. Her name is derived from Hunter Wally in 1935. At that time, women on screen were perceived as shameful and Nadia was fighting on the screen against all odds. What was amazing that she was used to perform her own stunts. That's why she is also called as India's first stunt woman, the fearless Nadia. B.R. Vijayalakshmi. She is the first female cinematographer and was not only India's but also Asia's first woman to handle the camera and light crews in a film. She was born to B.R. Pantulu, a director and producer in South Indian films. At a time when only men handled the technical side of making a movie, she donned the hat of the director of photography in 1980 and she worked as an assistant to cinematographer Ashok Kumar in the 1980 Tamil film Nenjathai Killade. Since then, she has shot 22 films and 2018 she made a directorial debut in Abhiyude Katha Anuvin Theyum. Thiruvayaru Panjabakesa Rajalakshmi, called as T.P. Rajalakshmi, she was the first woman actor in Tamil cinema and the first woman director in South Indian cinema. She was not just an artist, but she was also a reformist who was imprisoned many times by the British for acting in dramas that were critical of British rule. She was the heroine of the first Tamil talkie Kalidas, and from her 9th year when she launched her acting career, she fought her family orthodoxy to remain Tamil theatre and filmdom's cinema Rani who could perform any role and even don the director's hat. You can imagine how difficult it was for women to usher a new era in Indian cinema. Had these women not broken stereotypes, Indian cinema would have never been a canvas for some of the finest performances given by women in the film industry. And this video is a tribute to all these women who walked past the conventions and built a revolution of their own, pioneering Indian cinema into a new direction. Thank you very much for watching.